neurologists, specialists in their field may go to 12 years of school, and we still have some struggling results in healthcare at best, right? So how would you know that? Let's think about this. When we're conceived, there's a sperm cell and an egg cell to get together, right? And probably not a lot of thought went into that. But the design is perfect because the first thing that gets set up within your body is communication. So the central nervous system is the very first organ to be developed. And that's why we do folic acid. That is something that helps us develop. You know, that's one of the most common suggestions when someone is pregnant. So because the nervous system is not only the first to be set up, but it is also the communication to absolutely every cell, giving to it all functions and monitoring absolutely everything, then we know that every action of that perfect software developing 1 trillion nerves in your body throughout time, keeping a rhythm of different cellular functions, let alone their cycles, and the software always being perfect, then we know that if you were given a stimulus, or any animal was given a stimulus, and you had a reflex that was programmed into that DNA, and based on your experience within this cycle of experience and reflex, that the governor was the emotions that gives you the intensity of that reaction, then you can assume that all of the fluctuations inside and outside of a bell curve that mankind actually made, right? So who certified the certifier, right? The bell curves got smaller and smaller, and we sold more and more drugs, but the conditions did not go away, did they? We just sell drugs earlier, that's all. That's called prevention, isn't it? In the medical realm. So what has happened is, instead of interpreting symptoms as an event where something happening to you, interpret symptoms as the most appropriate and perfect reaction of a software that's been replicated through millions of cycles of this human development. And in that perfection, when you have a symptom, even if it were scary, that you would have trust in that symptom, that it was actually an event in maybe something categorically threatening to your life. Because remember, if all is going well, you're not really experiencing a lot of fight or flight. And if you're not having the perception of safety issues, which once again is emotional, then those symptoms probably aren't there. Remember, if anyone has a symptom that is considered the way that we've been educated as negative, when we know our software is perfect, then we consider that a fight or flight issue, right? So if it's fight or flight, then we know it's a safety issue, right? So if it's a safety issue, that means we had to give it an emotional value. So there is your emotional, physical, and chemical simultaneously. And here, most of traditional care is taking care of the end effect and never taking into consideration the recording of the event that created an emotional reflex that looks like a physical category of symptoms, and we call that one a disease. So remember, in my mind's eye, I would even consider whether it was the manufacturer of a tumor in a certain tissue, an event of fight or flight, not just a mechanical failure in your system. There's always going to be a balance of all three. And without the balance of all three, how could anyone heal if they don't feel safety? And as soon as we label all these symptoms and the category of disease and the expectation of this label of a disease that no one can seem to get rid of, what state does that put your own body into? And if that state is a negative fear-based state, how do you heal through that if you don't have the faith that the software is perfect?